Once you've selected the glass colors for your project, the next step is transferring your pattern. I've cut my pattern out of paper and will decide the exact area of glass I'd like to cut for each pattern piece. Once I choose the area of each glass sheet, I glue the pattern piece down. Apply a small amount of cutting oil to the wheel of the glass cutter. Cutting oil reduces friction, helps preserve the cutter's wheel, and creates a smoother, cleaner score line. With the cutter in hand, start at the edge of the glass. Press down with even, consistent pressure. Try to make your cut, referred to as a score, in a single, continuous motion. There is a science to deciding where to score the glass first. Some scores are more likely to result in a clean break, so patience is key here. Once the score is made, use running pliers to gently snap the glass along the line. With the right pressure and a confident cut, the glass will break along the line. Curves can sometimes require a second, deeper score line and additional tools to remove the scored glass. Once all pieces are cut, try a general glass fitting with the pieces to see which areas may need a little more trimming. We're going to clean up the edge using grozing pliers, which will gently nibble away any spots where the glass didn't break quite perfectly. It's time to smooth everything out on the grinder. These gloves that I am wearing are cut-resistant, not cut-proof, but they offer a good layer of protection in case your hands brush against a sharp edge. Gently guide the edge of the glass against the bit, using even pressure and letting the grinder do the work. This step helps round off any sharp spots and ensures a perfect fit in your pattern. Once the edges have been ground, remove the paper. Be careful not to touch the edges of the glass. Dry fit the pieces to ensure a good fit. Using rubbing alcohol and a thick towel, carefully wipe the edges of each glass piece to remove any oils or dirt. This also preps the surface for the next step, applying copper foil. Once again, be careful of the glass edge during this step. It's time to apply the copper foil. This helps us with those beautiful soldered lines later on. In this video, I am using a table foiler to help with this process, but you can also do it by hand. With a small section of copper foil, center the glass edge in the middle of the foil strip so you have an even amount of foil on both sides. Work your way around the entire piece, keeping it tight and smooth. In this video, I am skipping the outer edges of the glass because I will apply a zinc cane border to the piece at the end. When you reach the end, overlap the foil just slightly and trim the excess. Burnish the foil, which means press it firmly against the glass on both sides and along the edge. Repeat for all your pieces. Now with all the pieces foiled, we are ready to set up the soldering area. For protection, I wear heat protective gloves and use a small benchtop smoke absorber. The lead will not get hot enough for lead fumes, but the fumes from the burn-off of a chemical called flux may irritate. Set out your design and level as needed. Using a small brush, gently apply a thin, even layer of flux directly onto the copper foil. This is what allows the solder to bond to the copper foil. You don't need a lot, just enough to coat the surface. During the soldering process, wipe the iron's tip on a damp sponge to clean. Let's tack the piece using solder dots to keep the pieces in place. My iron is set to 410 degrees Celsius, which gives a nice, smooth flow to the lead without burning the foil. Using the soldering iron, lightly spread the solder over the foil line, moving the iron slowly across the surface. You're aiming for a flat, shiny coat that covers all the copper. This is called tinning. Working slowly and steadily, touch the solder wire to the foil and then bring the iron to it. You're guiding the solder to flow in a smooth, even bead along the foil line. This part is sped up to show the attention to detail taken during the soldering phase. Take your time, and don't worry if your lines aren't perfect on the first try. You can always go back and reflow areas for a smoother finish. You want to see a slightly rounded bead that runs evenly along the line. Not too thick, not too flat. If the solder pools or splatters, your iron may be too hot or you've applied too much flux. As needed, wipe your soldering iron on a damp sponge to clean it. Once your front side is soldered, let it cool completely before flipping it over to do the back. Now that the front of our piece is fully soldered and cooled, it's time to finish the back side. Take your time and follow the natural shape of the design. You want both sides to look clean and consistent. Once the entire back side is soldered, allow the piece to cool completely before moving on to the next step. Since we're making a square border, I used an angle cutter set to 45 degrees for each corner. This helps the frame fit together neatly at the joints. I started by cutting the 45-degree angle on the end of the cane. To keep things precise, I marked the cutting spots directly on the zinc. This makes it easier to get clean, accurate cuts. Once all 4 sides were cut, I fit the zinc cane around the outside edges of the glass. It should fit snugly, but not too tight. You want everything to sit flat and even. A little flux helps here, just like with your seams. Finally, I soldered the 2 ends of the zinc cane together to fully enclose the square. Then I applied solder at each of the 4 corners, right where the cane pieces meet. At each intersection where the lead solder meets the zinc cane, flux the zinc and apply a drop of solder. Do the same on the other side. Now the piece is ready for hangers. Apply a little flux to the hangers to get them to adhere to the zinc cane. Be sure to use a pair of pliers to help hold the hangers during soldering. This helps for precision and safety. Apply a dot of solder to the hanger while holding it against the zinc cane. Repeat for the next hanger. Now that your piece is fully soldered and framed, it's time to clean off leftover flux. Using a soft bristled brush and a gentle detergent, scrub all the solder lines and foil areas with warm water. Make sure to get into every corner. Rinse thoroughly and dry the piece completely. You want no moisture left behind before applying wax. Now we'll apply a stained glass finishing wax. Just rub a thin, even coat over all the solder lines, foil, and zinc frame. Let the wax dry until it looks hazy, just like waxing a car. Then, using a clean, soft buffing cloth, polish the entire surface until it shines. Lastly, attach your hanging chain or wire to the back hangers. This stained glass piece is now complete, clean, polished, and ready to shine in the window.